Pete, thank you for joining me again on the Spirit Farm podcast, man.
Absolutely, dude. I don't think I've ever done a podcast twice.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm honored.
Well, I should be the one honored. I don't think I've ever been asked to do a podcast twice. So,
well, here we are in my house.
I love it.
In Paradise Valley, Arizona, the desert. We're out of like the deep heat months, but it's not, it's not cool outside.
It's still hot.
Still hot. You flew in. Tell me honestly, like when you flew in, touchdown, came out of the automatic doors, what did you think?
I mean, it feels like an oven. Just like when you open up the oven and you just feel the heat just hit you in the face. But I mean, I live in Nashville and it's hot there. It's just a different heat. You know, that we have the humidity. You guys don't have the humidity, but it's 147 degrees outside. But I love it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Went for a hike this morning. It was incredible.
I had to stay home with the kids, but you, Jordan, and Hillary went out at like 5:30 a.m.
I watched the sunset up on top of the mountain.
Or rise.
Yes. That's it, sunset. Because that's all I ever see. I can't remember the last time I saw a sunrise.
Yeah.
I just see sunset.
Yeah. Well, most people are awake during those later hours, not so much the earlier hours. Although Hillary, she's just been like blazing those trails early morning. So she got you guys up and at 'em. I was impressed.
Yep.
And you hit that mountain and you guys were doing the thing and
It's gorgeous.
And you saw kind of the majesty of the desert.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It really. I've been to like the Phoenix area several times, but always just for work, and I never really got to see beyond like just going somewhere and speaking and leaving. So this has been really awesome to like get to do some hiking and stuff.
Dude, I want to talk about a bunch of different things with you. It's been 2 years since almost 2 years, not quite. Almost 2 years since the last time that we were together, and I was in Nashville in your home, and you were early on in the first season of the OG of the Spirit Farm podcast.
It's awesome.
But before we get into that, let's just talk for a minute about the fact that we have this growing, evolving thing called Spirit Farm.
Yep.
And you own a farm.
I do.
You have a real farm.
Yeah.
Like with actual animals.
Yep. It's not a spirit farm. It's like a stinky farm.
It's a stinky farm.
Yeah.
But you have all kinds of cool stuff that you do there. You've got like a donkey. Maybe that's the source of the stank.
Yeah, the stink. The goats stink.
The goats.
Mini horses stink.
How many mini horses?
Too many horses.
Are they too many for you to sit on top of?
Technically, no.
You get up on those?
I don't because they're like, it needs to be someone that's 10 or younger.
Okay.
But there's some 10-year-olds that are my size. So I probably could technically get on one, but
you could double up. Could you double? Exactly. Could you get them side by side?
Yeah.
Put a yoke. Is that like a biblical reference? Put a yoke on them and.
I can give it a shot. No, I love taking kids for rides on those little mini horses. They think it's awesome.
All right, and you were just telling me that you were, what are you doing? You planted pumpkins.
Hundreds of pumpkins.
Hundreds of pumpkins. So you can have your friends out and
Kids all come out there and pick tons of pumpkins. So we do a hayride and we grow Christmas trees and give those away. That's fun too. And the farm makes no profit whatsoever. It does nothing but suck what little bit of extra money I might have. But it's fun, and my boys love it out there, and we do a lot of hunting out there and stuff. It's great.
And it seems like from the photos and from talking to you that it's good for your soul.
Very.
So I didn't prep you for this. I'm just going to ask you on the off the cuff here. But what is like a parallel to like what have you learned on the farm? Or how do you connect with God on the farm? Or how do you connect with yourself on the farm that is like you've taken into the rest of your life? You know?
A huge one is just seasons. Like every season out on the farm is very different. And I know that illustration gets played out sometimes, but for me, being out there and experiencing, in the spring, there's these seasons of growth and everything's exciting and summer's amazing, but takes maintenance and but there's also seasons of death but it's all part of it. Every season is important to the life of that farm.
Yeah.
And really that even through death, like I see every seed that gets planted, it cracks open, it dies to give birth to something new.
Yeah.
And the compost, I have a gigantic pile of compost that's made up of dead things that mix together to create this, I call it black gold. It's
Black gold.
Beautiful dirt that I put over all my vegetables and stuff that I grow. And so I don't know, it's pretty cool to see how those seasons play into things.
Has there been a time on the farm where you felt like it was like winter and you felt like, I mean, you mentioned things dying, but where you felt like, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't know if I'm cut out to be a farmer, or I don't know if I can keep this thing, or anything like that, where it was like the death was so real that you were like, I don't know if I can continue in this way?
Oh, many times. Yeah. I mean, it's, when I went through, and not just practically on the farm of being like I'm not a farmer. Like I'm way in, like too deep. Like when I'm on the farm, I'm constantly Googling, like, how do you do this? Like, how do you get the goat unstuck out of the fence? Like, it's just I just don't know what I'm doing.
You're the YouTube farmer. You're
Yeah,
getting all
am,
your lessons.
Very much so. But even that, deeper than that for me, the farm was a place that I went when I was in my season of winter and trying to figure out when is the next season and what's the next season going to be and what does it look like. And so it really was an important, somehow God used that place to kind of slowly restore me.
Yeah. I read somewhere recently that death, well, I mean, you talked about it just being a part of life. Like it's a cyclical thing, that there's spring and there's summer and there's fall and then there's winter and things die, but then there's new birth. And we see that in the world around us in practical ways, in farms and gardens and in lives. But this person was saying that every death is really just the death of delusion. That I saw the world in this way.
Yeah.
That died. And now I have this new perspective.
Yeah.
I went through this divorce, I'll speak for me. And there was a death of delusion, the delusion that I had to be perfect.
Yep.
The delusion that life was perfect, the delusion that things were fair, the delusion that I was this shiny, example of, how a good young little Christian boy should be, like the death of delusions.
Oh, that's so good.
And I think that you've had to deal with a little bit of that too. You've seen that in life, and it's relevant to the farm. It's relevant to just like right here, right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And when we sat together in Nashville, you were still in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you were still, you shared with us on the podcast that it was rough and that it was still difficult, and you were kind of scratching and clawing your way out of some really hard times following your divorce. Now here we are a couple of years later. Can you give us a little glimpse into where you were maybe in that time, and then what's been happening since to get you where you are today?
Yeah. I would say for me, the healing, it's an ongoing thing. It really is. Like, it's almost like I discover at times new wounds I didn't even know I had from going through that divorce, in lots of different ways. And how long that lasts, I have no idea. I think that, I've talked a little bit about this before, but like, I think I had to learn to sit, like everything inside me wants to numb the pain through a variety of different things. But I've had to learn to sit in that pain and hold on to it as long as I need to hold on to it, to learn from it, whatever it is I need to learn from it. And I think early on after my divorce, again, I just wanted to get over the pain. I thought that was the goal. Like, how quickly can I get over this pain?
Yeah.
And can I numb that with a new relationship? Can I numb that with some kind of new success? Can I numb that with alcohol? What's it going to take to get over this pain?
Yeah.
And I had to get to that place of saying, I don't think that's the game here. I think it's sitting with this. I think this pain has something to teach me. I think there's something I need to learn from it.
Yeah.
And stopped seeing the pain as like the enemy or the bad thing and embraced it as something that was necessary for me to become the person I think God wants me to become.
Yeah. I think that that's true of me, probably true of all of us. We don't want to feel crappy. And so the default is to quickly move to, man, how do I move past this quickly? How do I, my temptation is to try to turn it into like a teachable moment as quickly as possible. And it's just like, oh yeah. Totally learn my lesson. And here I am back to like the impressive person.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's not it. It's the death of the delusion. And part of the delusion is having to be that thing, having to be that projected image.
Totally. I definitely did some of that. And I wrote a whole lot about that pain early on, because I think that's what I thought was, would help me get through it. And I had to have a season of just not sharing a lot of that publicly and just kind of doing the hard work of, owning mistakes that were made, owning pain that I brought into other people's life and things I contributed, and also letting go of some things I was owning that I didn't need to own. That's part of my battle as well. So it's a heck of a journey. But I do feel like I'm further along in that healing. I think there's more healing to come, more things I need to work through. But I'm in a so much better place than I was, 5 years ago, but especially where I was even 2 years ago.
Well, let's talk about place, because people listening or watching may or may not know, but you were like high profile when it hit the fan. You were leading the biggest church in Nashville, and Nashville is like the epicenter of not only country music, but all things like Christian in this country.
It's the religious hub for sure.
The religious hub of North America. And there you are leading the most popular, most influential church in the religious hub. And you're very visible. You were very well known in the community. There were lots of kind of music celebrities that were part of your church and knew you well and all that. And then you have to go through the toughest time in your life. And then you had kids, so you had to stay there. You couldn't you couldn't just go to Miami.
Yeah.
So here you are, 2 years since we were together, but kind of 4 or 5 years since. Is that about right?
Yeah. It's been. I probably resigned 4 years ago.
4 years.
Yeah.
So what was it like to have to go through that publicly, and then to have to stay in the same place?
Yep. Well, it's interesting. There's so many different stages to grief, so many different stages to the pain. So 4 years ago is when publicly I had to start working through that. But anyone who's lived a public life and gone through something painful knows that it started long before it went public.
Yeah.
So there's these different stages of kind of working through some of these things.
Yeah.
And I think the public season of working through a lot of this stuff was all about shame. It was, I'm sure I shared this a couple years ago, but man, that first year was brutal. It was, I had felt like, and again, this was me projecting this. I felt like I had let everybody down. Like going through a divorce, it wasn't that I had let maybe my immediate family down, but I felt like I let my church down. I'd let an entire community down. I had so much shame around that. And I would go grocery shopping at 1 a.m. when I knew I wouldn't have to run into people. And it was a really, really difficult season. And I had to work through that. I had so much of my identity and ego tied into being the senior pastor of that church. I had so much identity and ego tied into having people like me and approve of me. And I didn't realize this, obviously, when I was, at
in
the
it.
church.
Yeah, when you were in it, leading it, when everything's going up and to the right.
Yeah, but so much of my motivation and my drive had to do with trying to answer big questions like, am I enough? Do people love me? Am I worthy? Am I valuable? And so baked into everything that I did was a huge question mark for me that was inside of me. So then when I had to walk away from all that, oh my gosh, like I thought I had my answer. No, you're not valuable. No, you're not worthy. No, you're.
And I'm sure that there were some really friendly religious people reaffirming those.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there were some people that were lining up to let me know that You're right. You are not worth a thing. So, it was tough to kind of work through that. But again, man, it drove me to find out where my worth and my value and all that is. And again, not to fast forward through all that, but I'm in a very different place now. I'm doing ministry at some levels. I kind of have a lot of different things going. It all feels very different to me.
Yeah.
Because I've answered a lot of those questions that were driving me before.
Mm.
So I'm doing ministry and life from the context of I've answered the question of where my worth and my value come from. And it turns out that thing I was chasing and pursuing all that time, I already had it, right? I was chasing something I already had God's love. And
say more about that, because I think that that's real for all of us.
Yeah.
And we're so much of our lives is chasing.
Yeah.
And so much of our lives is chasing, wanting to feel, probably across the humanity spectrum, we're wanting to feel, asking the questions, am I loved?
Yep.
Am I significant? And when you have some, quote, success by culture's standards, and you're leading a big thing that's popular, and you've written books, and you're invited to speak on stages, and it looks like everything is working and going together, you're getting those check boxes,
Yep.
right? But then it can go away like that. And then you're left wondering, wait, did I have it at all? And so you went through the dark night of the soul, as some people refer to. You went through that dark time and came out on the other end going, oh, no, I had that way before.
Yeah. Yep. and this is to some degree human nature, is what I've experienced, is even though we know those things don't, I mean, again, like we could start naming right now and not have enough time in this podcast to list all the names of people that we've seen who are ultra famous, ultra rich, ultra successful, who are absolutely miserable, addicted to this, addicted to that. And we all watch that and we're like, how could they blow their life when they had all that money and all that talent and all that success? It's so easy, right? Watching somebody else's life unravel. And we're like, man, if I would have had those things, I would not have done that. Right. But we all fall into that trap of thinking, okay, the money success thing didn't work for them, but it will work for me. Right. And you get a little bit of it and that doesn't satisfy.
Right.
But then you convince yourself, oh, if I just had more of this thing that's not satisfying me now, maybe then it would satisfy me.
Right.
And I just think it's one of the greatest illusions.
It is.
So we just keep chasing after that.
Yeah. Let's talk about death of delusion.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that is what we chase, and we realize, and it's always, it's that carrot. It's just always a little bit further.
Yep.
Never fully and finally satisfies until we realize that the only place to find it is now.
That's right.
This moment, I already have it.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're just chasing something that's always out of our reach.
Absolutely.
We see it time and time and time again. I've lived it to a degree. You've lived it now to a degree. How have you looked at your life? I mean, we'll talk about you're newly married, and I love Jordan, and Hillary loves Jordan, and we're so pumped for you guys. Talk about that in a second. First, kind of because we're on that topic, like how have you approached work differently? Because it used to boost you up and give you whatever it gave you that was elusive, we found out.
Yep.
But now how do you approach, you still want to be good at stuff, like you still want to provide for your family. How are you re-entering vocation or job or calling and thinking about work?
Yeah, so I do. I absolutely have a drive to want to make a difference, to want to do good things, to create things that are helpful and beneficial to other people. I think the big difference is I'm trying, and I'm not there, please hear me, but I'm trying to get to that place, and I'm much further along than I've ever been, where I don't tie the success or the failure to my identity. So when I do something and it goes really well, I can appreciate it. I can be grateful that went well and turned out so good, but I don't feel like I have to tie that to my identity. And when something flops and fails or I'm criticized, it's not that doesn't sting and hurt. It does, but I no longer make the association that because that failed, I am a failure.
Right.
I fail at things all the time.
Right.
I get criticized all the time. Sometimes rightfully so, maybe. But it doesn't have the sting that it used to have because it's not tied to my identity.
Yeah.
That failed. It's not so much that I'm a failure.
Yeah. 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 The thing that I was doing or what I was contributing or what I was trying or attempting.
Yep.
Yeah. That didn't work.
Yeah.
But we learn and we build, but who I am
That's right.
as this reflection of the God of the universe, right? As this unique expression of God called Pete.
Yeah.
That's not in question.
Yep. And that's the key is that, for me, is knowing where my identity rests and who I am is who God says that I am. And I know that sounds very simple, but I had to get to a place where I say, essentially, I don't really value your opinion of me a whole lot. And I don't even value my own opinion of me. I'm going to value God's opinion of me because my opinion of myself is often distorted and your opinion of me is often very distorted. So that's where I have to kind of rest. And it doesn't mean I don't listen to wisdom from other people in my life and, value having important people. But as far as my identity lies, I have to know where that comes from.
So someone that's on shaky ground right now, maybe they've just gone through some stuff. Or maybe this has just plagued them their whole lives and they are constantly battling against negative self-talk, negative self-image. How would you coach them or encourage them to just on a Tuesday kind of war against the lies and the deception and to let the delusions fall and to embrace who they really are? Yeah. What would you say to encourage them?
I'd say, and you already alluded to this earlier, this is the vast majority of people. Mm-hmm. We're all, to some degree, think that we're playing this game. And it was enforced real early on in our culture. You were evaluated, you had to earn your grades. Mm-hmm. To some degree, you had to earn the love of the people around you. And you
get picked for the team.
Yeah. You learned real early on there were certain things that if you did them, people made a big deal about it, right? It was all about that. And so I think we then project that into our relationship with God. And so we think that we're somehow trying to earn his love and his acceptance. And so we have to end up doing more good things than we do bad things. And then we think if we do...
As if there's some scale.
There's a scale, exactly.
Win approval.
And I think we have to ground ourselves in, again, that love, that worth that we're chasing, we've already got it. Mm. Like, God's not playing the same game that we've played our whole life.
Yeah.
It's already there.
Yeah.
And
did you write notes to yourself on sticky notes and put them on your mirror? Did you put little alerts in your phone and have them pop up?
I didn't
when it's
do
dark,
that. But I know people that have gone to those real practical kind of steps to kind of do that.
Yeah.
I think for me, it had so much to do with my self-talk. My self-talk was so negative towards myself and had been for years and years. And so that's where I had to kind of fight the battle the most.
Even you, a pastor who talks about the Bible for a career for 20 years every Sunday and knows all the verses, even you had
absolutely
lies going through your head, right?
Nonstop.
It's all of us.
Yeah.
It's all
and I don't know that I would have gotten to the place I'm at today without something coming along and just rocking that whole system I had built and created and almost kind of just fallen into.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same way. Like I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Divorce. And then I had a couple years ago, this big dramatic departure from the church that I was leading. Wouldn't wish that on anybody. Wouldn't want to go through that again. Don't want to feel that pain again. And yet, I don't know how I would have learned some of these lessons. I don't know how I would have broken through some of these delusions. I don't know how I would have grown in some of the ways that I have without that pain and suffering.
Yeah, pain's an amazing teacher.
Gets our attention.
Yep.
So you got married in the middle of COVID.
I did. On the farm.
On the farm.
Yeah.
In the middle of a global pandemic.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Jordan is awesome.
She's amazing.
How did you, well, first of all, what do you love about her? And kind of how did this relationship take shape even after like such pain?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for anybody listening to this that's either maybe they got married really late in life or they went through a divorce and they started dating again. Like, dating as an adult is weird. It's just the whole thing is really, really weird. And I'd had a friendship with Jordan before, so that kind of helped. It's not like, now I have plenty of friends that have just met people online and it's
Right.
worked out awesome.
Right.
I was grateful that I didn't necessarily have to go that route.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like I was starting with someone brand new where
Right.
I was like, "Oh, let me tell you, I've got 3 kids and been through like."
You started that. She's like, oh no,
Yeah,
I
right.
know.
Yeah.
I live in Nashville. I saw.
That's right. Yeah. So, she kind of knew a lot about my story just through our friendship, and I knew a lot about her story too. So neither one of us were going into it blind at all.
Mm-hmm.
We worked together too. So, it was great. It was beautiful. Like it's scary. I think anytime that you've been to a divorce, and whether you feel like you caused the hurt or you received the hurt or a mixture of both, you know, um, and even when you're married, you know this, that you have the capacity to bring the greatest joy and also the deepest pain to your spouse.
Mm.
You do. And that's a scary power to have that you do have in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does. And when you have been through that kind of hurt that a divorce can bring, there takes this level of, you're not walking into it blind. You know that there's a capacity for a high level of hurt. And if you're really going to love someone, you have to take those risks that come along with that,
Mm-hmm.
to hurt someone or to be hurt by someone.
That's right.
And so it took some time to work through a lot of that, and we were both very patient with each other. She's taught me a lot. I've never been around someone that loves people the way that she loves people.
Mm.
She sees just a hurt in people that most people would kind of skim right over.
Mm.
And that's her priority. Where I tend to prioritize getting things done, she prioritizes love, which sometimes slows me down, hijacks my agenda.
What a pain.
Yeah, it is a pain. I'm like, seriously, do we have to do this now? Like, do we have to stop what we're doing and love this person? But it just oozes out of her.
Huh.
And so it's been really fun. It's been fun to watch her relationship with my boys. And she doesn't try to be their mom. They have a mom. They have a great mom. I call her their bonus mom. She really, what she is a great support and a friend to them.
Yeah.
And so it's just fun to watch that dynamic play out.
Yeah. Well, just in half a day or almost a day with her here with us, I've seen that. I mean, she's loving our kids well and playing with them and getting down on their level and getting Edie in and out of her, 12 dress changes in the course of an afternoon.
At least 12.
But it's fun, man. She's a sweetheart, and you guys are so cool together, and it's fun to have you here. One of the reasons that you're here is not just for this little podcast chat, but you're also recording teachings for us.
Yes,
which I appreciate. Just listen to a bunch of them. You still got it. You're excellent.
Oh, thank you.
In the teaching department, and I love having you a part of Spirit Farm.
Yeah.
So
I listen, Caleb, I love this community you're creating. And I realize that people listening to this probably for the most part are a part, or maybe you're just dropped into this one podcast. But what you're doing and what you're creating, I think, is really important. And I think there's a lot of us out there, including myself, who are trying to either find our way back to God, or we found our way back to God and we're trying to figure out how do we sustain that? How do we grow? How do we continue to become the men and women God created us to be? And you're giving us great resources and tools to do that in a very non-threatening environment at our own pace. And I think this is really important.
Thanks, man. Well, it's a pleasure to be able to have you involved, because you've become a great friend, and I respect you and think highly of you. Just your teaching ability, your thinking ability, your pulse on what's happening in culture. So whether it's these teachings for our Spirit Farm membership or a podcast or a retreat that we're going to do soon.
Yes.
It's awesome to be able to work with you. Although we don't tie it to our identity.
That's right.
We can just have fun with it.
We can enjoy it for what it is.
We can enjoy it. We can set goals. We can hit them. And when we miss them, we learn and we set new goals.
That's right. That's what it's all about.
And we don't have to tie that to a sense of failure or not living up or whatever. It's beautiful when we see life that way, and it's simple, and we can really live at peace.
Yep.
And peace doesn't have to be out there somewhere. My potential's not out there somewhere, but it's like, no, it's this moment.
Yeah.
It's this moment. This is the here and now with God and with you, and even the here and now whenever our friends are listening to this or watching this. God's as close as our breath. And I enjoy that. I enjoy this friendship and dynamic, and thank you for jumping back in and on the podcast.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how important I think this is, and I love what you're doing. I love your family, and thanks for just kind of allowing all of us to tag along on this and learn from you as you navigate through all of it. And it's a blast. It's
a journey. We're all just doing it together, figuring it out as we go.
Yep.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Caleb.